what we're debuting here is, an automated lift truck. We've seen them.
Yep.
They exist, but what we're really trying to drive innovation towards is in the platform that deploys the automation.
Okay.
And that's where this drag and drop, easy to use platform really comes into play. It's maps the facility. You can map the facility yourself. You can create your pads yourself. It doesn't require that team of engineers anymore to come into the operation and set things up. Adjusting routes is now more streamlined and can be done right at a Signal computer. So you can take that same guy that was doing that milk run, and then you can put him behind a computer, and now he can manage a fleet of automation. So the operation gets the efficiency because it takes one person to manage 10 trucks, and then you've got an operator who's going to be way more apt to stay in your operation because he's got a value-added position. He's not just a forklift operator, he's an automation manager, or an automation fleet supervisor or something.
Specialist,
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So you can create these opportunities for people in their operations. It's not about replacing labor. It's about augmenting what's missing, because there's already gaps. There's already too much to be done and not enough people to do it. And so that's really what our automation solution is about augmenting the labor.
So you're giving them a new tool, but I mean the tool is what's changing the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Noah is our product manager for automation, and I'm going to let him do the more detailed explanation.
Absolutely. So this is actually our automated lift truck portal. So what you're seeing here is actually one of our facilities in Berea, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
So it's a completely cloud-based solution. You can see where the vehicle's at on the map. So it's actually up there in the right-hand corner. When we were talking earlier, you could actually see it moving around the facility. But really the benefit to this is the fact that if, say, a large customer has many different plants, they're able to monitor all of their KPIs. They're able to basically do diagnostics, and so like if, say, one of our engineers needs to take a look at something, they can look at logs and see where we're having issues on site without actually having to go site, so we can both troubleshoot and help the customer out through that way as well. So what you're seeing here, all of these like pink little dots is basically the loading map for the vehicle to understand where it's at all times. I think you can see on that vehicle back there. At the very top, there's this little red box. And so at the top of that box, what's happening is basically where you can see vehicle times.
Okay.
So it's using 2D LiDAR, and it's basically picking up all these points. So all you have to do is, because we're an OEM, you can actually hop on the back of our regular truck that anybody has already probably driven before. You drive around the facility for 15 minutes one time, and it saves us map forever. So then once you're able to put it in automation mode, then you know exactly what's happening, or the vehicle knows exactly where it's at all times.
Okay, was that a difficult thing at Yale to get into? Hey, look, we're going to move from just being a supplier to end user customers. Now we're going to also include competitors and get some co-opetition,
So previously, our previous automation line, we've worked with like other integrators in the past. This is something that we've completely done like in-house.
Okay.
So the nice thing is we have a ton of years of experience selling the product and then basically doing it on our own, getting help.
How old's your company?
Yale is 150 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So can you just excuse me for 1 second?
Go right ahead.
I'm Brad.
But so it's been an interesting journey because we've sold automation in the past, and this is our very own solution that we can basically we've built from the ground up. We've had this experience, and it's really our time to shine and do things that we've learned in the past and put it into a product that we want to show the masses.
That's pretty cool.
The really cool thing about this is we call it our drag and drop. So I can actually pop in here and edit this map at this facility. So a really good thing with this is basically if a customer was trying to, say, make a change to their facility because they wanted to add new racking. And in the past, or with a lot of our competitors, what you'd have to do is you'd have to hire a software engineer to come in and drop all of these points, or not drop all the points, actually program every single one of these points for people to drive to. So what these points are, these little dots, we call them waypoints, and it tells the vehicle exactly what it needs to do at this point.
Each one of those pink points, or are you talking about those diamonds now?
Yep, like the diamond one.
Okay,
so it's basically showing on an XY coordinate where it's at the facility. Once we go vertical, we'll have the Z coordinates as well.
That's pretty cool.
But you tell it the speed you need it to go, and then that's the information it gets to basically go to this next point.
Okay.
But what we're trying to show here is the fact that you can actually drag and drop these points as well. So you can see when I zoom in here, I pick it, and I pull. You see the path changes automatically. It's almost like using a PowerPoint or a Visio or anything that you're used to using. So if I were to save this, the vehicle would know that I need to I would have to go drive around this point. So this would have took somebody with an engineering background. You would have to hire them and then take them to your facility and basically pay them to do this code. It could take a couple of days. Now it can take a minute.
Yeah. I mean,
so you go from like days and weeks of setup and all this work to same day installation.
Yeah.
A truck running in your operation the very same day that it's dropped off.
Yeah.
And that's a huge change in the automation world in general.
Yeah.
To see that kind. So and you mentioned the pink dots. All that pink, that's the facility. So that's from the mapping of that facility. That when Noah mentioned the truck drives around.
Does that just mean there's a surface there, or there's
something there?
Okay.
So it will avoid that.
Gotcha.
You can overlay your facility on top of it.
So this is like when you have one of the cobots. You know, it finds out its universe. You take it through all the stuff not to hit, and then it doesn't hit them. But same idea.
It's the same idea. Yeah. So and you can gain the efficiency too, because you can map the entire warehouse operation if you want to, or just map the area that you want the automation to be running into. So you can, again, it can expedite that deployment, and then you can also pivot very easily, because if you do map your entire warehouse, you just start drawing around, drawing waypoints, any other point in the facility, you can pivot immediately.
It's not like you change your warehouse config all the time either.
But you have peak periods, you know what I mean?
But yes, you do.
You have influx of new things, and you can make those adjustments now on the fly. Whereas, because you're right, you don't change your facility all the time.
Well, like the surfaces aren't really gonna.
No.
But there'll be people, and somebody throws a desk in there for a minute. And,
right. And you have peak periods where you're going to want to adjust, and now you can actually make those adjustments, as opposed to before having to just kind of either take the truck out of operation and put a manual truck in. So you can have this sort of scale that you need. Now you can do that the same day, and you can manage peak a lot better with this type of solution.
So what I want to show you.
No, I was going to say that's kind of the point of the name, Yale Relay.
Yeah.
2 point. It's relay. You're passing. It's like a race. You're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
But also thinking about electronics, the relay and electronic, it's intended to put power into the right parts of the operation or the right parts of electronics when it needs to run best. And that's the idea that we're trying to do with this automation solution. Is that you can pivot, put it where you need it to run best in your operation.
A question on the pink points. Do you just run the system through the warehouse to get those pink points?
You just drive it around the facility for about 15 minutes, and then it makes a map, and it knows where it's at all times after that point. It also has some algorithm learning as well, so if you are changing the environment, it actually will update as your facility changes with it. You just have to have 3 points of reference at all time where you're at. So basically, if you are at somewhere in the facility where you can see 3 positions, so it's a rack or a pole or a wall, that's when the vehicle knows where it's at.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I wanted to show you here is it was as easy as drag and drop, but you also, and this is why I have to show it through a video, you can drive the truck in manual, and it will actually drop the points for you as you go. So you can see this truck driving, and it's dropping points as it goes.
Oh, that's cool, like breadcrumbs kind of thing. Yeah.
So actually, that was one of the original. We decided to call it truck as a cursor, but we call it the breadcrumb feature for the longest time in development.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that it's basically just showing that you can drive the facility and say, I want the truck to go on this path, and then it's as simple as pressing go, and it will remember that path. So really cuts down on the development time of trying to figure out where exactly you are in the facility. You can basically drive the truck to exactly where you want it to go, and it's going to know where that position is. So it makes it a lot easier. How
much, what's the word I'm looking for? Autonomy does it have?
Yeah, so there's a difference between, this is my definition, there's a ton of different definitions.
Right.
You see AGVs and AMRs. So an AGV is going to follow the same path no matter what.
Right.
An our vehicle does. So if something is in the way, so if somebody leaves a table or a box and it falls in the path, it's going to obviously alert somebody that something's in the way and that vehicle is stopped. We did that for a reason, because a lot of our competitors are smaller competitors. companies like to do this automated mobile robot is what an AMR is.
AMR, yeah.
So an AMR is always going to drive around things.
Right.
But there's a big issue. So say you're going down the aisle and a box is left in the middle of the aisle. Every time that vehicle is going to drive up to that point and see that box and realize that I can't go around this, I'm going to go all the way back around.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really an efficiency issue. So we like to call our automated guided vehicle that because it's really is the most efficient one possible.
Is it still embedded though? The guidance
What do you mean?
embedded in the floor, or?
Oh no.
Okay, so it's
this is there's no infrastructure that's required.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what those pink dots are. It's knowing
Okay.
where it's at all times.
Yeah,
So-
but it's funny, most of the AMRs are like that far above the ground, and maybe, they're low riders, man. They only got like an inch or two. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's this is having the full
A
truck.
little different.
Again, the AGV is very beneficial having that sort of pass because the efficiency that you lose in an operation by having those impediments, you'll never know if you have an AMR running that operation.
Yeah.
So this gives you the space again to kind of like recognize when there is something in the operation that needs to be adjusted. And again, make that a change and get you moving.
Yeah.
At peak performance. So even for your regular operations, it comes.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this is just one of our facilities. We have two vehicles running at it, one up here in this part of the facility and one down here. This truck's not on today because they're not doing operations there. So unfortunate timing, but we do have the vehicle that's running up here. And really what this operation is doing is basically it's sitting here, it's waiting for a full cart. So we call it this big V train, or like flying V is what they call it, but it's basically carriages for actually one of the forklifts that we have over there. But it's basically the whole entire carriage. There's 4 of them that sit on this cart. It's 13 feet wide. So I think our vehicle goes up to 15,000 pounds.
Wow, yeah.
So it waits to pick up 4 of these. It drives down here, and this is actually like the manufacturing line. So it'll pick it up on the manufacturing line. They'll take off obviously the carriages, and then it's going to, or the frames. It's going to leave from there, drop off the empties here, and then it's going to drive up here and wait for the next one. And then these are all based on calls. So once this is full, we're going to press this button here. The button's going to tell it to drive to here. Once this operator's done, it's going to tell it to here. And then once there's empty or there's room, an operator's going to press this button until they drive over there. So it's all based off of call buttons. You can do WMS integration as well if the customer wants to do that. So.
I think the interesting part too about this operation, what we're doing in the red here, is that you get a long run with multiple stops too.
Yeah.
And one thing that some operations can integrate as well, depending on the cart that they're using, they can use auto unhitch and auto charge. So it can really be a hands-off tool. So auto unhitch, it'll automatically deposit that cart there and then move to the up and then receive. So then you don't have to have a person relying on sitting at the other end of it. To unhitch so the truck will continue to move. It can just deposit. The people can be moving and grab the cart when they're ready to be using it. And then auto charging again keeps the truck constantly in operation. You don't have to have somebody monitoring it quite as frequently. It can decide when it's ready to move in. Charge. It grabs a charge, and then when it's ready to deploy again, it just moves off.
Is it that wireless charge, or is it?
It's an induction charge.
Love it.
Yeah, it's right up next.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's right.
But you mentioned the like drop off of materials. That would be really good for my audience because where they can, they will be linear.
Yeah.
Okay, so laser cutter, press brake for bending.
Yeah.
And then maybe the welding department is the next thing on the line. So all this stuff, if you could just move it down the line, that's half the battle for them.
Yeah. One thing that we really like to say too, this is a great entry into automation, especially because a lot of customers will want to have like a fork option because they use forks everywhere in their facilities.
Yeah.
But using parts is actually like a really great way to start to learn, like, all right, how do I just move things horizontally across the facility?
Oh,
and reduce that like drive time that's really non-value added work.
Yeah.
You're able to actually get, especially in manufacturing facilities, to drop things off like line side, being able to move it through your cells, and it's a great opportunity for like kitting operations.
Yeah.
And as well as if you don't want an operator, say, picking up from one aisle and driving all the way to another, they can pick it up, do it at the end of a drop zone, and then do all that really like that difficult manual work in one area, and then get people basically speeding through that operation, and all the drive time gets reduced by.
It's kind of like, why does it take me longer to get across Manhattan, which is a lot shorter than going
Yep.
down Manhattan?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Which the other point that's interesting in terms of a barrier to entry to overcome is that this is we have a frictionless rental model with this too. So a frictionless rental model.
Oh,
So the
okay.
idea here is that we're operating more like a SaaS type of a software as a service
Okay.
model. It's really
Is this on the cloud then?
It's really truck as a service. Yes. it
Okay.
is. Yes. And so the idea here is that rather than having to bear the upfront burden of of initial investment of buying an expensive automated vehicle, you can the frictionless rental model spreads that cost out over time through more of a subscription service, but it also enables an operation to scale more appropriately and understand an ROI and see an ROI so much sooner than they would if they were having to buy a truck right out. Because warehousing out, you can't miss. Right, you have to have a proven solution that's going to be able to demonstrate ROI quickly with thin margins. So you got to move quickly, and you got to be right. And that's why this rental model is really intended to kind of reduce some of that burden of the sheer terror of introducing new technology in an operation.
Right. Yeah.
That can kind of assist with some of the change management as well.
Yeah.
Looking in the upper parts of the operation and finding sharing that.
The headache of what if something doesn't work?
Right.
If you cure that headache, you've cured almost everything.
And that's another advantage of working with an established OEM like Yale, is that we have a nationwide dealer. And we're building our automation into our existing trucks. So it's not, this isn't a different tugger than what we sell to our major accounts.
Right,
We sell to our customers already. We've just automated this existing tow tractor. So it can be operated in manual mode still to get it into the operation and move around and map the facility. But that's a very expensive piece of equipment to take out of manual mode, because it is, take it out of automation mode
and put it on manual.
So it's not recommended to be like, on peak seasons you could do it. You could, but it's very expensive. But it's serviced by our dealer network, so nationwide support across the board with that.
Yep.
In which again, when you look at some other OEMs or other rather integrators or other, I'm going to call them startups. At this point, they're not startups, but they're just purpose-built AMR stuff. They're smaller service departments and things like that. So that's the advantage of a larger OEM that's providing those. You get a nationwide dealer that can help with that service and make sure that the truck keep that uptime moving all the time. The truck moving all the time.
And our service techs have always they've operated on these vehicles all the time, so they know exactly what's going on. But all the robotic, all the automation is basically up above vehicles, and then everything from the bottom down is basically exactly the same.
So all right.
It's really easy to distinguish. Right, this is a component that I know is related to automation. This is a component that's related to automation.
From a productivity point of view for you guys, who make it, wow,
I mean it's
really smart.
To build it all up into that space, and little spaces it takes too. I mean, it's amazing how it fits in that. Those compartments, and it's really, again, very intuitive, not just in the execution but also in the design. It's really thoughtful. I mean, I think we've taken a lot of our years of experience in automation and just continue to evolve and grow. And this is, I think, probably the strongest that we've worked with some of these automation solutions as of right now. It's very thoughtful on the user end of things, and it's a very thoughtful development process and design process. So I'm really encouraged by what we're doing with our automation solutions.
Yep. Really cool. Well, guys, thank you so much.
Dave, thank you.
Yeah.
It's great. I really
good.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yep.